Hey, this is Victor with Ventabot, and on today's episode of Don't Kill the Messenger, I'm going to walk through how to go from the best and transition yourself into the go-to expert in your industry. Now, stay tuned. Now, before we begin, head over to ventobot.com/book so that you can get your copy of the Complete Automation Strategy. 4 phases to generate never-ending leads. These are the same 4 phases we take our private clients through to do just that, from best kept secret transition into the go-to expert. Now, it's important to understand with this first step here as far as transitioning is you want to understand, and there's 4 really main phases, and I talk about in this book. The pro should probably be called From Best Kept Secret to the Go-To Expert. There's 4 main phases here, and the first phase is you want to understand how first to attract your ideal audience. You have to do some work around actually getting to understand them. I just recently recorded an episode, a podcast episode with an interview with a clarity and messaging expert, right? He's a copywriter for specifically, he's the go-to copywriter for speakers, authors, and consultants. And the reason he is because he's done the work and he's done the research ahead of time. I've talked about this in the past before where I talk about a fawn grid, fear, aspirations, wants, and needs. Oftentimes, we understand as a service provider or a consultant what our audience needs. We often overlook, most of us overlook, what your audience wants. So for example, just to put it in an aspect right now, with everything that's going on right now with, for example, this pandemic of the coronavirus, most people are wanting to feel safe. They want to feel stocked up. They want to feel like they are ready and prepared for anything in case they get quarantined of some kind for some reason. So what they need, though, is someone to really help them understand what the real problem is. And without understanding that, like if someone just goes to them like, here's the issue, here's the problem, they're not going to want that. They want to feel prepared. So the way to feel prepared, that's why we've had a lot of stores run out of toilet paper, because that seems to be the biggest thing in the biggest packaging. And for some reason, psychologically, that allows a lot of people to say like, I'm ready, I'm stocked up, I have a lot of these. Right? That just happens to be the biggest product in the biggest packaging in most stores. So they want to feel prepared. They need to be informed. And oftentimes, what a lot of people have in this first phase of attraction is they don't know how to speak to their audience. Right? If you come at it from the point of like, this is what you need to know, instead of like, this is how to be prepared for what's happening, then they'll start to pay attention. They'll start to lean in, they'll start to listen, and how to actually attract. And again, you start to attract the right people, your right ideal audience. And that's important because if you don't do that work beforehand, you don't look at what they fear and what they aspire to have or be or do, then you can't talk about in that transition. You can't label it as the fear aspect. You can like, this is how to avoid this fear, and this is how to transition into the aspiration of what you want to do, be, or say, or whatever it is. And as the reason I say it's this fawn grid, fear, aspirations, wants, and needs, is because we start on the left side of the fear and wants. All our content starts getting situated around that topic, transitioning into the next either aspiration or need of what they actually do. And that is important to have, because if that moves a person from unaware to aware to informed, and then to ready to move on forward whenever they're ready with you. So that's just the first phase, and that's just a piece of it. And we go much further into it in the book, The Complete Automation Strategy, which, by the way, you can get it for free going over to ventobot.com/book to get your free copy of the book. That way you can start generating never-ending leads and become that, go from best kept secret to the go-to expert in your industry. Now, the second phase that I touch on for this book here and how to move from best kept secret to the go-to expert is engagement, right? Once we've attracted our audience, once we start to create that attraction piece, and the piece is the resources to attract and have people raise their hand, Then we need to engage them. And how do we engage them? There's a specific formula we follow. I call it the customer desire formula. It's a 3-step process to really getting someone to move, to identify themselves as a fast mover, a slow mover, or kind of like an in-between person. Right? You want to think about this like the Jaguars, the people that are super fast and be like, yes, I'm ready to buy right now. I'm ready to move forward. I'm ready to get this done and taken care of right now. The other person on the other end of that spectrum is the person like, I don't really know you yet. I need to know about if you actually are what you say and you know what you're talking about. And then you have the person in between that's kind of like I'm kind of ready to do this now, but I just need a little bit more information on you and on why you, like what makes you different than everyone else. And that's another topic altogether. But it's a 3-step formula we follow, the customer desire formula, and we focus on an icebreaker. We focus on a momentum piece and then an irresistible offer, right? So this icebreaker is essentially how you show up. It's how you create that content and what it is that you put out there to say this is the want, and this is how to solve the fear, this is how to overcome the fear, this is how to solve the want that you have, and then and we just put it out there and say this is here for you. If you want it, raise your hand. And that's part of that attraction piece as well, and engagement. And then the next step is to create that momentum. If you can allow yourself to provide a resource of value, and we hear that all the time, like provide value first and whatnot, but what does that really mean? That means allowing that person to really get a result in advance. I've heard it in the past before. The most recent person I heard say it was Frank Kern, and says the old help them by actually helping them trick. Right? We want to make sure that you actually give them something of insight, of actionable to do, that they can do on their own and get a quick result. From step A to step B. That's it, right? If we give them from step A to step C or D or F or R or Z, what ends up happening is you overwhelm that person, and then it just becomes another thing, and you are another person that adds to infobesity. They've consumed so much and they're not taking action because they're overwhelmed. They're not organized with it, right? So what ends up happening is if you provide just something enough that allows them to make a quick change. For example, a fitness person can say, like, hey, get your free water bottles and you can drink one of these a day. That'll get you started on the right path. You don't even have to start working out. Or like, here are the 3 exercises to do at home to, start getting the 6-pack abs that you want as a 40-year-old male or whatever. Or here are the quick things, 3 exercises to do as a business traveler or whatever. That's just on the fitness side of things because they're usually easier examples. But something like that allows that person to immediately take a step on their own and get a quick result. Right, so that's that engagement phase, and we go much deeper into it in this Complete Automation Strategy book. So which you can get for free, by the way, by going over to bentobot.com/book to get your free copy. Just cover shipping and we'll send it right over to you. Now, this third phase of elevation, once we've attracted our ideal audience, we've engaged them and helped them and provided them with momentum, and then we position an irresistible offer, what ends up happening is you start to identify the fast movers, the slow movers, and the medium lane movers. Now, with the fast movers, that customer desire formula is going to get you the immediate results that people look for. This is the initial ROI that most business owners look for, and they're like, I wish I can get this, or this is why it doesn't work because I'm not getting this initial ROI. But then there's the majority of middle and slow lane movers that most people forget about. If you don't buy now, then I forget about you, you're not worth it or whatever, right? That's what people do a lot of the time. But if you're anything like me, you're focused highly on those people, on nurturing and helping them to move through their process themselves and elevate themselves to a point so that they're ready to work with you. And that is how you start to transition yourself from that best kept secret to the GoTo Expert, because now you're the person that's associated with all the wins that they've made on their own. You have curated this journey for them to start getting quick wins. They get a quick win here, they make an advancement there, and sooner or later they're going to get to the point where they're like, you know what, this person has helped me like for free doing all of this so far. What is their paid stuff going to be like? Like if I work with them, what is that going to be like? they start to think about that themselves. And that in itself is very valuable because that you start to elevate that person through your journey, and it's very intentional. You've done the research ahead of time, you understand what their wants and needs are and what their fears and aspirations are, then you move them into, you create content around solving each of those pieces, right? They move into different milestones, and I've talked about it in the past for content creation, right? This is essentially how you map out your content creation. You have 3 to 5 pillars. I like to start with 4, like on the left, on the right, the farthest one close on the right. Milestone 4 tends to be the ones that are more related around testimonials. Like why you over everyone else? What's different about you? What makes you special? And that's kind of that positioning piece. Whereas the one on the farthest left ends up being more of like you educating them about what it is that they want and helping them identify that, you know what, I actually want that. That's what I want. They've said it better than I can. Then they start to lean in and resonate with you. And that is important because once you start to do that and start to transition them into each milestone, that gets them closer to you. Once they're ready to buy. And of course, finally, it's important to understand how to actually convert these people. Because if you're the person that's been there for the last 90 days, for the last 2 years, but then your competitor shows up at the right time and says like, hey, here's the offer to buy this thing, they're gonna go with them instead of you. And it's important to understand how to create these subtle reminders. And again, we cover this in phase 4 of the complete automation strategy, which, by the way, you can get your free copy of the book to generate never-ending leads online by going over to ventobot.com/book. Now, this last phase of convert, you want to make sure that you can actually get them to convert. And there's a lot of things here. One that we specifically use is, we call it subtle reminders. Right? And I can't take full credit for this because this is something that I've personally learned from the email side of things from an old school marketer called Dean Jackson. Once a quarter, this is what I do. Once a quarter, I send out an email to my entire list or to my contacts, prospects, anybody that has raised their hand to eventually work with me, and I say, hey, are you still interested in, and then whatever it is that they want solved. Like, it's very personal to that person, but for example, most of those people, like, are you still interested in transitioning from the best kept secret to the GoTo Expert? Or are you still interested in generating leads online for your course? Are you still interested in creating content automatically or automagically, because it's a service we provide, so that you can focus on the results that you're providing to your clients and your customers? Right? Whatever that looks like, and that's a quick subtle reminder. It's something he calls the 9-word email. And it's this very simple, like, that's it, right? That's all it is. However, we've added that goes a little bit further into it. And the way we do it, again, I call it the subtle reminder. It's small little plugs along the way that allow them to remember what it is that you actually have to offer that person. So in that 4th phase, once you start to understand the attract phase, then you move into the engagement phase, elevate phase, and finally the convert phase. Then you can start to really see the results and start becoming the go-to expert. That is your whole process and journey to going from the best kept secret and struggling and being in this famine cycle of like, I don't have clients, I don't have customers, I'm not, like, this business isn't working, maybe I should go get a real job, or whatever that looks like for you, all the way to, you know what, people are coming to me and I'm turning people away because they're not the right fit for me right now. I mean, I might not be able to help them to the best of my ability, or whatever that looks like for you. So before I forget, if you're serious about generating never-ending leads online and really moving from that best kept secret to the go-to expert in your industry, head on over to ventobot.com/book to get your free copy of the complete automation strategy. I'll show it one more time here. That way you can start to generate never-ending leads online and start moving through the process. It goes a lot more in-depth into this book here so that you can actually start to do it on your own before needing us. And when you get to the point of like, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore, then you come reach out to us and we'll take it off your hands for you. Now, until next time, this is Victor with Ventobot. I will talk to you later.